I am surprised seeing you in my hut today, Omen Kanaya. Please, what brought the great Agu to my home? Nenena asked. The grasshopper that runs into the mist of fowls ends up in the land of spirits. Omen Kanaya began softly to Nenena. I have come here because I have found a way out of my situation. I greet you once again. Omen Kanaya, the only wrestler who had fought with the spirits and lived to tell the tale, the one who is being feared by many both in Udom and other villages. You are welcome to my humble home, Nena said softly at Omen Kanaya. But that hasn't answered my question as to why you are here, Nena added, as she stared at the face of Omen Kanaya, whose face depicted trouble. Nena, if a child lifts his father, his scrotum will blindfold him. I seek for your household help. Help? Nai, you know how I have been managing myself and my children since the day it was discovered that I was among the night movers. I denounced them and things are not moving well for me like it used to before. Nena, that was not the kind of help I came here for. It's about your son. He alone can help me out of my son's predicament. Omen Kanaya explained briefly. Nanai, you know that I have 2 living sons, so I don't really know which of my sons you are speaking of. Nena told Omen Kanaya. It's no other person than your son Ibuka. Omen Kanaya replied back without hesitation. Ibuka, how can he be of help to you? Nena questioned. As they were speaking, Ibuka and his siblings were seen coming back from the farm they had gone earlier. They greeted Omen Kanaya and their mother, then leaving them to continue their discussion. Ibuka, Nena said, halting Ibuka. Yes, Mama. When you have dropped that cutlass you are holding, please come back, Nena said to her son, who nodded his head and left them to continue their discussion. Nena turned to look back at Omen Kanaya and said to him, You haven't told me why you want my son's help yet. Omen Kanaya cleared his throat. Yes, you see, my only son Obin went and offended someone who he did not have any atom of idea that the person he had angered is a god in disguise. The god dealt with my son mercilessly. When I went to call Oku, the great Idibia, he told me only your son can help my son out of the misery the said god has put him in. Biko Nena should, in case your son refused to go with me, help me and beg him for my sake, for old time's sake. Your son went ahead to offend a god? Was he in his right senses, Omen Kanaya? Nena questioned in bewilderment. That is what I cannot tell, Nena. You need to see my son writhing in pains as he laid at the front of his hut. The gods had afflicted him with pains. I have heard you, Omen Kanaya. Ibuka came to meet them, prompting Nena to stop speaking. Yes, Mama, you told me to come. Yes, I did, Ibuka, Nena said, then pointed at Omen Kanaya. Do you know this man here sitting beside me? Nena asked Ibuka as she pointed at Omen Kanaya. Who doesn't know about the great wrestler and his entire household in this village? Ibuka said to the hearing of Omen Kanaya, who nodded his head in pride. That is me, my child. Omen Kanaya replied Ibuka. Nena nodded her head. And you also know his son Obin too. Mama, I just said who in Udum whom doesn't know of Omen Kanaya and his son Obin. Ibuka repeated. Very well. Omen Kanaya here has something to say to you, Nena said and gestured Omen Kanaya to Ibuka. My son, Omen Kanaya began, I will be very grateful if you can help me in this situation which I am in. Help you, Omen Kanaya. If it is within my powers, then I can help you. It's about my son Obin. And what about him? Ibuka asked. Omen Kanaya repeated what he had told Nena earlier on. Well, since the Idbia said only I could help him, then I will go with you to see him. Ibuka told Omen Kanaya, who became elated on hearing what Ibuka said. Thank you so much, Ibuka. Omen Kanaya said thankfully. Don't thank me yet because I haven't seen what is doing your son and haven't cured him yet. Ibuka said nonchalantly at Omen Kanaya. At least you are willingly to come and try, that is all that matters. Chukwuolisa abode. Father, you called me. Ikenga said as he stood in the presence of his father Chukwuolisa. Yes, I called you Ikenga. I heard and saw what you did to that human. As if that was not enough, you went ahead to threaten a young man in his farm. Ikenga, you are overstepping your bound. Chukwuolisa told his son. Father, he did something and I have to punish him for what he did. And for the other young man I threatened, he was getting on my nerve on something. Ikenga answered without any form of hesitation laced in his voice. I have always told you that a day is coming and you will meet your match. Chukwuolisa said softly and slowly. And even if that day comes, Ikenga, the god of war, would not be its match. Ikenga boasted to the hearings of Chukwuolisa, "Father, I beg to take my leave now," Ikenga added as he left the enormous light coming out from the golden sit. If only Ikenga knows what is ahead of him. If only he knows the battle ahead of him. Chukwuolisa pondered in thought. Witch's abode. I need Ohamiri. She is the only one who has the powers to defeat her, powers like that of Ogbanje's own. Adaku said, persistent of it. And you think your daughter, the real Ada of Okoro, would defeat Ogbanje, the child of thunder? A wife of a strong god? The princess and only child of her previous mother, the O.G.B.A.N.J.E queen. Think again, Adaku. The Ezenwayi told Adaku. Ohamiri is the real Ada and was the one who had sent me back to Okoro in the first place to deal with him for neglecting her and me for Chidinma, Ogbanje's mother, in the first place. Adaku told the Ezenwayi not so gently. You left your promise and went ahead to Amumamiri to seek for her help and powers to defeat Ogbanje, which you couldn't. Or did you succeed, Adaku? Ezenwayi asked Adaku in mockery. Adaku snorted rudely. I did what I was supposed to, but still Ogbanje isn't down yet, Adaku answered. But Ohamiri made you promise her that you would have wiped off Chidinma's generations before she wakes up from her deep slumber she had entered. You want me to wake her up when you haven't even killed the one she wanted you to kill. Waking up Ohamiri is like trying to see if you could walk on waters, Adaku. She would be furious when she find out that the task she had given out to you hasn't been carried out yet. Ezenwayi fired back at Adaku. Ogbanje is stronger than me, including my own great-grandmother, Amumamiri. Her powers and even that of Ikenga are no match for Ogbanje, I will admit that. But Ohamiri is her match, and she is as powerful as Ogbanje is. Since she was the one who had wanted them dead, she would have known a long time ago from the very start that Ogbanje won't be such an easy prey to kill. I have done my part now. Let Ohamiri do hers. Wake her up for me, Ezenwayi, and tell her I need her presence. Adaku said, still adamant of what she came here for. All right, Adaku, I will wake up Ohamiri for you. You and I know that she had slept for many years waiting to be awake with the death of Okoro and Ogbanje. But since you couldn't kill Ogbanje, you want to involve Ohamiri into this. I will wake her up for you, Adaku. Be prepared, Adaku. Even if you are her birth mother, the fact doesn't change that she won't be livid when she finds out that you have not succeeded. Ezenwayi told Adaku as she shook her head sideways at Adaku. Let me bear my own cross, Ezenwayi. Do not worry about me. Ohamiri is my daughter and I am her mother. Ogbanje is bigger than me and I can't face her alone. That is why I need Ohamiri's help in the first place. Once she is battling with Ogbanje, I, on the other hand, would be battling with Okoro. That has been my plan. Adaku answered. There are various leaves in the bush, but people go in to look for okazi leaves, Ezenwayi said as she stood up from her sit and started dancing to a tune best known to her. She stops, stretched forth one of her hand towards her, and beckoned Adaku to come to her. Adaku walked steadily and swiftly to her. She doesn't have all the night to herself, and placed her right hand on top of the Ezenwayi's own. They both disappeared immediately. Omen Kanaya's hut. The gods are very angry with your son for defying them, Ibuka explained to Obin. I know, Ibuka. That was the reason why Oku, the great Idibia, told me that you are the only one who could help my son out of his predicament, Omen Kanaya said solemnly at Ibuka. Ibuka turned to face Obin. You were warned to stay away from her, but you fluttered away those words and pleased Yipo self. These pains that he put you through has it precaution. It would put an end to your life in the next Eek market day, Ibuka began, as he and Omenkanya had went to meet Obinwana after much pleading from his father. Ibuka knew fully well that it was Ikenga who had caused Obinwana such pains. He knew why Ikenga did it. Ikenga did all of that for his Alolisa. Obinwana should count himself very lucky that it wasn't him that struck him with pains. He should thank his stars that it was Ikenga who did it to him and not him. He stood by the side of Obinwan's as he stared down at him pitifully. Obinwana tried to say something, but his swollen, painful cheeks wouldn't let him. Please forgive my son. He has learned his lesson, and he won't disobey the voice of the gods ever again. Please, Ibuka, help him and return his chi back to him. Please, I don't want my only son dead. Omenkanaya pleaded. Ibuka nodded his head. I also hope so. Amadioha shall heal him from these pains, but he must always give out a sacrifice of a white ram in Amadioha's name every 4 AFO market day. Ibuka said as he gazed at father and son all together. Did you just say Amadioha? Sorry to ask you, my son, but please, who is this Amadioha? Omen Kanaya asked Ibuka. Amadioha is a god that was once served, but something happened which made everyone to forget about him and only remember Ikenga. But nevertheless, if you abide to what I told you, your son shall be healed this minute by Amadioha. Ibuka said without missing a beat. We will do as you have said, Ibuka. I will make sure that every 4 AFO market day my son and I would sacrifice a white ram in the name of Amadioha. Omen Kanaya concurred. Remember, it was Ikenga who had caused your son predicament, and it will be Amadioha that will heal him out of his predicament. Ikenga did this to my son? Omen Kanaya questioned as he stared unbelievably at Ibuka. Do you want the answer to your question, or you want your son healed and alive for you? The ball is in your court. Ibuka said softly to Omen Kanya as a weight ed his answer. What else will I choose if not my son Obin? Please relieve him from his pains, Omen Kanaya said without any form of hesitation. Very well, Omen Kanaya. You choose well, and for that your son will get himself within the next 2 hours. That is to say, his G will come back. Cheta na nkwabu ugwo. Always remember that a promise is a debt. Don't worry about that, Ibuka. Like I have told you, I will do as I have promised. I am Omen Kanya that never fails to keep his promise, he said to Ibuka. Ibuka bent down to Obinwane's height and blew around his face, then proceeded in rubbing his 2 palms at each of Obinwane's cheeks in a tender way. Ibuka stood up from his position and turned to face Omen Kanaya once more. I shall now take my leave. In the next 2 hours your son shall be healed. He shouldn't disobey the words of the gods again. Ibuka warned again and he headed home. Ibuka was on his way home when he heard the voice of Nyokuji calling out to him. Why was Nyokuji calling him? Ibuka thought to himself as he walked back home late that night. He got home and met Nena outside, preparing to go inside to sleep. His other siblings had all gone to bed except his mother, who was wide awake waiting for his return. Once she saw him, she stood up from where she was sitting and bid Ibuka good night before she advanced into her hut. 3 huts stood at his compound. One was for his mother Nena, the other one was for his 2 sisters and his younger brother, while the last one was for him. His and Nena's huts were the first huts one would see when entering their compound before the others' huts. Ibuka also bid his mother a good night's sleep and went to his hut. He fell asleep before his head reached his bamboo bed. Nyokuji abode. You sent for me, my precious brother. I came as quickly as I could, Amadioha said to Nyokuji as he came to his abode. Yes, I have sent for you because Ikenga had bluntly told father that he would fight you to the core and that he isn't one bit scared of you, Nyokuji said as Amadioha paced around him. Is that so? Amadioha said with a raised eyebrow. Father used to say fools rush in where angels fear to tread. I won't be the first to strike, for he who walks before his godly guardian does the race of his life. Ikenga is trending on the path that will lead to his doom, and I, Amadioha, shall be that doom. Amadioha said with all seriousness. He turned to Nyokuji and smiled. His father and brothers all know that the smile of Amadioha means something. Thank you, my brother. I am really grateful, Amadioha said in appreciation. Nyokuji lifted up one of his arms and placed it on the left shoulder blade of Amadioha. Remember to call on me when you need me the most. Every lion has its weakness. Always remember these words, Nyokuji said tenderly at his brother. Those who defecate at night see the ghost grasshopper. I will do as you have said, my brother. The black forest of doom, Adaku and O.G.B.A.N.J.E landed in front of a thick forest. It was so dark inside the thick forest. The rays of the moonlight could not penetrate through it. What baffles Adaku the most was the trees. Their leaves were pitch black. They were black in color. Adaku bewildered at what she saw and turned to look at the O.G.B.A.N.J.E. Is this where my daughter lives? Adaku asked. She stared around them, unbelievable, before turning back her eyes on O.G.B.A.N.J.E. Do you know where we are? What this forest is? Uhamiri can't stay in this forest, O.G.B.A.N.J.E. Please take me to where my daughter is, Adaku said in fury as she thought O.G.B.A.N.J.E was trying to play some trick on her. Uhamiri lives here. She came here after she left you with that task, O.G.B.A.N.J.E said to the astonishment of Adaku. Impossible, O.G.B.A.N.J.E. No mortal or immortal has such power to stay alive for long in the black forest of doom, Adaku said in a disbelief tone. Oh, you know the name of the forest. That explained why you are doubting. Well, if you must know, Uhamiri conquered all the beast. In fact, all evil creatures living inside the forest. She became their mistress, and I must tell you, Uhamiri isn't the child you knew years ago. Why won't I, Adaku, daughter and granddaughter of Amumamiri, not know this forest? It was told as a story then by my great-grandmother. This forest, even our god Ikenga could not enter it. Then how come my daughter Uhamiri find her way inside the forest to dwell, and even conquered all the whole evil creatures in here? Adaku objected as she stared at Ize-Nwai, who laughed humorously. Were you not the one who had said a few minutes ago that Uhamiri is your stepdaughter match? Are you now in doubt of your own daughter's strength? Ize-Nwai queried Adaku. No, I don't have any atom of doubt in me for my daughter. I am just surprised that she was able to live in a forest Ikenga fear to trend. Well, Uhamiri lives here and we don't have time. The time is going and we don't have much time. Let us be going, Ize-Nwai said as she gestured to Adaku to follow her. Adaku without a doubt followed the Ize-Nwai and they approached the thick forest. Ize-Nwai stopped all of a suddenly and faced Adaku. Uhamiri kept a beast that eat whosoever you are, be it a god, a goddess, a mortal or immortal. This beast can't be defeated, Ize-Nwai said slowly to the hearings of Adaku. What? Then how can we get past the beast since it is undefeated? Adaku questioned. There is an advantage we could use. The creature is blind, and once we are within its presence and territory, we cease our breaths. If eventually a breath escaped from any of us, we are as good as dead, Ize-Nwai explained as they motioned into the forest. They walked for some time. The light that emitted out from Ize-Nwai's staff guided them. Ize-Nwai halted in her movement. What is it, Ize-Nwai? Adaku questioned again. We are about to enter the territory of the beast I spoke earlier about. Remember to hold your breath, Ize-Nwai said, and they walked on. She put out the light that was leading them. I hope as a witch your eyesight are good in the dark, because from now till we are out of its territory we shall walk without any form of light. Okay, Adaku replied nonchalantly. They saw the beast moving about. It was black, solid black and tall, taller than a pole itself. His eyes were at his middle. His hands were like scorpion. A tail behind him was in the shape of a cobra head. He was a scaring sight to behold. He moved around inconfident. Straining their eyesight so tight, they breezed off and headed towards the beast, hiding from the breast gaze. Without breaking off from their breaths, they walked on until they had gotten out of the creature territory.